What would you do if a wild gorilla suddenly grabbed your hand, then pulled you through the jungle just to lead you to a dying lion? Sounds like some kind of wild tale, doesn't it? But it's true. A truth that unfolded deep in the heart of Africa. With Noah, a seasoned ranger who's faced life and death moments for more than a decade, and Kanu, the black gorilla he saved from a poacher's trap exactly 5 years ago. You know what? I first heard this story from a local in the Lope Reserve, in the southern region of Africa. He didn't tell it with drama or flair. He told it with a kind of look, quiet yet profound, like someone who had witnessed something sacred. And I was captivated by that look, by every single word he spoke. Until now, here I am, telling you this story. The story begins on a misty morning, as the Lope forest slowly awakened after a night of rain. The air was still damp. Droplets slid gently off the leaves, like memories that hadn't dried. The wind whispered. Everything was unnervingly quiet. But to Noah, a man who had lived more than 13 years in the heart of this reserve, too much silence was always a sign. He stopped. He listened. No birdsong, no gibbons, only a faint sound. So soft. It was like the fragile breath of something trying to blend into the jungle, hoping not to be found. Noah tilted his head, stepping slowly toward the sound. Through a wet patch of undergrowth, he saw the base of a fallen ancient tree, moss covering every inch. And there, lying low against the earth, trembling, was a baby gorilla, its black fur soaked through, its thin little body caked in mud. But what made Noah freeze wasn't the wounds, wasn't the weakness. It was the eyes, round, black, clear as glass, staring right at him, not with fear, but with hope. Noah crouched down, slowly, not knowing that this moment would begin a friendship no one would ever believe. Noah sat down, slowly. He didn't rush in. He simply placed his hand on the ground, just far enough to keep a respectful distance. A simple act, yet it carried a quiet promise. I won't harm you. I'm only here if you'll let me. At first, the little gorilla kept trembling, but its eyes never looked away. They stared right at him, as if measuring trust with every breath. Then suddenly, it reached out and touched the tip of his finger. Not a sound, only the rustle of the forest wind. And in that moment, Noah knew he couldn't walk away. He gently lifted the tiny creature into his arms. Its body was feather-light, but its breath was fast, scattered. Around its neck, a deep red mark, a snare, freshly tied. But what shook him more was the dried blood smeared next to it, not its own. Maybe its mother didn't make it, he whispered, as if speaking only to himself. Back at the station, Noah prepared soft blankets, warm water, and a quiet place to rest. He gave the baby gorilla a name, Kanu. In the local tongue, it meant the one born to stand through storms. What he didn't know was that one day that name would echo again through the jungle, in a call without words to save another life. Not every species learns to live with another, but when a wild gorilla chooses to trust you, You're no longer the one who saved it. You become a part of its world. Kanu quickly adapted to life at the ranger station. No cages, no chains. He roamed freely, but never left. Noah didn't teach Kanu with shouts. He taught with rhythm, with quiet patience, and small, knowing gestures. Kanu learned fast. He picked up strange sounds, human scents, tire tracks, and every morning, without fail, Kanu would join Noah on patrol, weaving through the jungle as if it was something he chose to do. One day, while patrolling along the forest edge, Kanu suddenly froze, ears perked, and let out a low growl. Less than 5 minutes later, the team found unfamiliar tire marks slicing through the restricted zone. Clear signs of poachers. Just gone. Noah looked at Kanu that day, not as the gorilla he once saved, but as a true comrade, a being with instincts, with perception, with purpose. On rare, quiet afternoons at the station, Kanu would come sit next to Noah. No games, no noise, just sitting, like a friend who knew when not to speak. Noah once said, "There are days when I'm completely worn out, and all I need is that look in his eyes to keep going." For 5 years, the entire reserve grew used to that sight. A gorilla who lived free, but always returned. And a man who once trusted only his instincts, now believed there was something deeper than instinct between species. Then came a day. A midday heat, just like any other. Kanu suddenly ran into the station. His chest was heaving, his eyes tense in a way Noah had never seen. No playful grunts, no usual greetings, just a tug at Noah's sleeve. And a series of sounds Noah had never heard in 5 years together. A warning, a plea, and this time, Kanu wanted to take Noah deep into the jungle, to a place they had never gone before. That noon, the sun blazed like fire. The reserve was eerily still. Noah was checking tracking equipment when Kanu appeared out of nowhere, breathing fast, eyes wide, panicked. No playful sounds, no mischief, just a sharp, unfamiliar series of sounds, and a strong tug at Noah's sleeve. No words were needed, just one look was enough for Noah to know something was wrong in the forest. He signaled the rapid response team to prepare, then followed Kanu, past the edge of the station, into a part of the jungle they hadn't patrolled in 5 years. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became, the smell of rotting wood, damp leaves, and then, suddenly, the smell of blood. Kanu stopped in front of a clearing. A shaft of sunlight pierced through the canopy, illuminating the center of the forest floor. A lion was hanging there, its back legs caught in a rope snare. It had struggled so hard, its flesh had torn, blood dripping slowly to the ground. It let out a low growl, not fierce, just enough to stay conscious. Noah stepped closer, then froze. Asari, the alpha male from the Northern Territory, the lion that had dominated camera traps for years, a living icon of Lope. Now he was just a bloody, dangling mass of fur, with clouded eyes staring at Noah, like a final plea for help. Kanu didn't back away. He stepped forward, sat down, and let out soft, quiet calls, as gentle as a heartbeat, listening. Noah pressed his radio. His voice was low and urgent. "Injured lion, severe. Bring tranquilizers and rope cutters. Immediate response." But what he didn't know was that this rescue would be the beginning of something greater than survival. It would be the beginning of acceptance between two species that were never meant to understand each other. Noah knelt beside the lion. Asari was close, but barely holding on. His eyes were open but glazed. His massive chest rose and fell in uneven, shallow breaths. That great body was enduring a slow, agonizing torture, minute by minute. Noah called in over the radio, his voice low but firm. Lion with critical injuries. Need high-dose tranquilizers and snare-cutting tools. Urgent. Kanu stood still, eyes locked on Asari. Not afraid, not backing down, just standing there, like a witness. And then, as the rescue team approached, Kanu did something no one expected. He sat down, right beside the lion, as if he'd done it 100 times before. Noah administered the sedative and waited. 1 minute felt like an hour. As Asari's breathing slowed, the team moved in. The rope had cut deep. Blood had clotted, but the flesh around the wound was turning dark with bruising. Every movement had to be perfect. No jerks, no shaky hands. Kanu stayed still, completely still. His eyes followed Noah's hands like he was standing guard for a brother. Then suddenly, he reached out and gently placed his hand on Asari's mane. No pressure, no clawing, just a touch. And somehow, Asari, even sedated, stirred, then stilled again, as if he felt something familiar. The rope came free. The bleeding stopped. The wound was cleaned and tightly wrapped. The team lifted Asari onto a wooden stretcher, and the whole way back to the station, Kanu walked beside him. No one asked him to. No one told him to. But his arm stayed resting on the lion, as if refusing to let go. Noah followed behind, watching the scene unfold. A gorilla and a lion, walking side by side, like two pieces of a puzzle that should never fit. And yet somehow, they did. He knew he had saved a life that day. But what he didn't know was that something else, deeper, quieter, more mysterious, had just begun to grow between two beings who were never meant to call each other friend. At the ranger station, Asari was under constant watch. His hind leg was wrapped tight, muscles twitching with each wave of pain. Staff took turns caring for him, monitoring his temperature, giving IV fluids, changing bandages. And Kanu never left the area. He sat outside the enclosure, quiet, no attempts to get closer, no noise, just being there, like someone who waits. The next morning, Kanu brought a few green branches and small wild fruits. He laid them gently by the fence, then sat down. Not food, not trade, just a gift, a greeting, a presence. What surprised everyone was that Asari didn't react. No growls, no retreating. He just opened his eyes, looked at Kanu, then closed them again, as if he was used to that presence. At first, Noah was uneasy. He knew the survival instincts of these two species. Lions were hunters, gorillas, defenders. But as the days passed, no growls, no tension, only quiet looks, slow moments, and something that felt like unspoken trust. One afternoon, while Noah was changing the bandage, Asari suddenly moved. He turned his head and gently nudged his shoulder against Kanu, sitting just outside. No one said a word. No one tried to explain. But everyone understood. This wasn't curiosity. It was acceptance. From that day forward, every morning, Kanu came, sat down, no touching, just sat, like a friend keeping watch over a warrior's rest. Asari no longer growled when people approached. He simply closed his eyes, breathing slowly, letting the world drift past him. From a distance, Noah watched, as if witnessing something beyond biology, beyond behavior, something only the forest could truly understand. And then, on a beautiful morning, with dew still clinging to the leaves, Asari stood up. His walk was uneven but steady, his eyes no longer cloudy, but glimmering with the light of the wild. And when the gate of the recovery area opened, no one could say for sure if the lion would walk straight ahead or pause for just a second, to glance back at the friend who never spoke, but was always there. The gate to the recovery enclosure opened. No applause, no farewells, just the soft whisper of wind through the forest, and sunlight dancing across the back of a lion, walking free. Asari, the alpha once broken in pain, now stood tall again, each step slow but steady, as if the wind and earth had been waiting for him to return. Kanu stood by the tall grass. No calls, no movement, just watching. Quiet. The same way he had for days. Asari walked past, then paused. He didn't turn his head right away, just leaned in and gently brushed his head against Kanu's shoulder. A touch as soft as breath. No one spoke. Even the forest seemed to hold still. All that remained was a moment, pure, silent, as if the whole world had narrowed to just 2 heartbeats. Kanu raised a hand, touched his friend's mane. One last time. No hug, no grasping, just a touch. And that was enough. Asari walked away. He didn't look back, but his roar echoed long between the trees. Not a roar of triumph, but of gratitude. A final exclamation mark to close a chapter. From that day on, Kanu stayed at the station, still joined Noah on patrol each morning, still quiet, as if nothing had changed. Except for one thing. Every time a distant roar rang out from the deep forest, Kanu would pause, look toward the jungle, eyes bright, not with fear, but with remembrance. No one ever believed a gorilla and a lion could be friends. No one could explain how it happened. But nature doesn't ask for reasons. It only asks for a moment that's quiet enough, true enough, and kind enough. And in that world, there are friendships that don't need to be understood. They only need to exist, to be a miracle, like an echo in the heart of the wild.